Hi there, Jake here, and it is hard to believe that we are already 1 week into 2022. It feels like 2021 was just kind of a blur, um, and it's still hard to believe that a year has flown by so fast. But here I am with my usual annual wrap up. A little bit late, but I just obviously, episode 95 took a lot out of me, and we released that on New Year's Day, so I needed a little bit of time to recoup and just sort of reflect on what this past year has been. Um, and I will admit, I did have a lot of goals for 2021, specifically with regards to this channel. I was aiming to release 5 episodes of DRPR. I ended up sadly only releasing 3, with episode 95 being released just 1 day late, unfortunately, to get that in under the wire. Um, and I also had the goal of releasing a video every single month, which sadly I ended up not doing for 2 of the months of the year, I believe May and September. Um, I almost had a Conversations in Context before the script was unfortunately lost, that I had been planning for May. But I was just so focused on trying to get 93 done at that time that unfortunately that one didn't pan out. That being said, I did manage to successfully launch a new series, or really a pair of new series, with the rapid run-throughs and deeper looks for Power Rangers Dino Fury. The rapid run-throughs being available through Morphin Legacy's channel, which has a far, far, far greater reach than my own, and the deeper looks, which I really focused on trying to just do in-depth analysis of each episode. And it's been an interesting experiment on that front as well. Getting back into regular episodic scripted reviews after having taken a bit of a break in many regards. Obviously, I've been working on power reviews this whole time. I did a few Ranger logs before deciding to switch over fully into the live reactions that we'd done for several years, up until our child RJ was born, and I decided to retire the live reactions to focus on something that was a little bit more planned out, and a little bit more focused just on me rather than my interactions with MJ, so that our focus could be on RJ, our child who was born right at the end of 2020 and has really been the most defining element of 2021 for both of us. So I know I've been talking about the progress for this channel, but really in terms of what I was up to in my personal life was my first year of parenthood, which has been a fascinating experience. They have, integrated very well into our lives in many regards, but I'm not going to pretend that, parenthood isn't a major commitment. Um, I have managed to find plenty of time to still work on the channel, but obviously, as soon as I get home each night, we're working on, getting through dinner and bedtime, getting up in the morning, making sure that we're getting through bottle time, getting to daycare, although MJ takes care of that commute. Being the primary parent on the weekends, as MJ is primary parent on Mondays and Tuesdays with 3 days of daycare. It's been a lot. And when it comes to the channel, that really only leaves me with a few hours a day, if I'm lucky, generally speaking, either during nap time or after RJ's gone to bed, which I got to, playfully poke at in our 9-year anniversary video for the channel. So, it's been a wonderful experience, but I'm not going to pretend that it hasn't been time-consuming. And it has been difficult to balance this channel. I have been committing to it, but I'm not going to lie. trying to, write a new script for each new episode of Dino Fury, it takes time, especially when your focus is split between, the project you're working on and this new life that you are trying to care for. This wonderful little life, that, like one of the best parts of my day today was, right before I went to work, just giving RJ a hug and hearing them babble da 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 da, and hugging me back before I had to, put them down and head off to work. So it's crazy how fast that first year has gone by. It's crazy to think that RJ is now over a year old. And with regards to the channel, it's crazy to believe that I'm now in that final year. This is the 10th year. This is planned to be the final year. I only have until October 13th to hit that goal of releasing the final episode on the 10-year anniversary. And, because I was only able to find, a few hours here, a few hours there for so much of the past year, that means that only leaves me with, 40 weeks left to do these final episodes, 8 weeks per episode. So I'm going to have to be on a very tight production schedule for the rest of the year. And I don't know when Dino Fury is returning, so I don't know when those rapid run-throughs and deeper looks are going to be returning, or how I'm going to be squeezing those in. I still haven't decided with any real certainty how I intend to continue things past the end of Power Reviews and past the end of Dino Fury. With the various rumors that are always swirling around, I don't even know what the next season of Power Rangers might be, or if there might even be another season of Power Rangers after Dino Fury in the same format that we are familiar with. This year, the franchise has migrated completely to Netflix for 2022, which is something that people have been talking about for years, but I never really thought they were going to go for. And now Power Rangers is going to be a Netflix exclusive show for this year, and that's extra bizarre considering they also took away so many of the past seasons on Netflix and are now putting them on YouTube. Like, this migration over into the streaming environment is still an interesting thing to wrap my head around, and an interesting thing to schedule around, because I can't really commit to, like, oh, the episode comes out, I'm going to release my review within 24 hours or within a week, because we're going to get these big drops of episodes. So the plans moving forward are very unclear right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in that front. So for right now, I wish I had better answers. I'm going to have to spend a lot of this year sort of deciding what the future is going to be. And I imagine that we'll probably know more in the next few months, since that's around when we usually get the announcement for whatever the next season's going to be. But for right now, my focus is on, obviously, continuing to care for RJ, continuing to work hard at my job, and continuing to march towards that final episode of Power Reviews, which is finally coming within sight. During 2021, I was able to meet with a number of my actors who I hadn't been able to work with in quite some time, as the pandemic sort of briefly relaxed during the summer. I didn't get to meet with everybody that I had hoped to. I didn't get to complete all the filming that I wanted to. Part of that was because, I now had the new responsibility of being a parent and being busy with that. Part of it was that my good friend Dave, who's been playing Guy for all these years, it became a parent all over again with the birth of his second child, which made scheduling during the summer a big challenge, and I was very grateful for all the time that he was able to make for me around the planning that he was obviously going through. But it did make scheduling for this summer, where I was hoping to meet with everybody, more difficult. And so I didn't hit all the filming goals I had. I didn't hit the release schedule that I had planned for myself. The deeper looks and rapid run-throughs that I'd been hoping to do, those 24-hour turnarounds, ended up kind of falling behind a little bit when the show suddenly switched over to Netflix. And then my fall just kind of fell apart with me being sick and my computer breaking down. I had an eye infection and I lost my voice, and so I fell behind on that. And there were just so many little things all throughout the year that just caused schedule slip upon schedule slip, to the extent that I am now, I no longer have that leeway. I'm going to have to be incredibly disciplined with myself for this year, especially since, I still have other big life things going on. We are hoping to, to find a house, now that we actually have, a child to care for. We have a family, and before we know it, RJ is going to be running it around, and we want them to have that space. So there's a lot of big goals going on for 2022. And I feel like in certain regards, 2021 just kind of slipped away in the mix of all that. Sort of a transition year, where everything was just reshaping around this new version of my life as a father, and trying to still finish up these last vestiges of this project that has been a huge part of my life for the last decade, and me sort of coming to terms with those feelings, which is a lot of what the 9-year anniversary video was about. I wanted to dive into what it's been like working on this channel, what it's been like emotionally, what it's been like from a technical perspective. So if you haven't seen the 9-year anniversary video, I would ask that you check it out. I am very proud of it. I do know that it hasn't gotten the most views because it is a little off-brand. It's not, explicitly about Power Rangers. But it also, sort of highlights one of the major challenges that I've had with this channel, which is that while we do continue to, always gain a few new subscribers here, a few new subscribers there, at that sort of steady rate of one a day, we are slowly but steadily nearing 4,000 after over 9 years, and it's become increasingly clear that, as much work as I put into this channel, I'm not really likely to ever find the time I would need to dedicate to it to truly make it, a big success, to make it grow in the ways that, the big name channels grow, or even the medium channels. We've remained a fairly small channel this whole time. As much as I know that all of you love our content, and as much as I have loved all the work that I've put into it, it's always felt like that, big breakout success has been just out of reach. And, with my life becoming, more focused on my family, I don't know if this channel will continue past this year. That is a major uncertainty for me. And that's going to be sort of the big question that I'm going to need to answer for myself, when I finally get to that 10-year mark and release that final episode, and when I get to the end of Dino Fury. And that's part of the reason that it's been that it's taken me a week to even make this video, and that it's kind of rambling and not even really about 2021 in so many regards, but about my feelings about how my life has changed and how this channel hasn't really been able to keep up with that. The deeper looks have been exhausting, to be honest. Trying to get to the end of this series that I've been working on for the last decade has been exhausting. And I don't think that the workload that I've been putting in is truly sustainable. And I'm still coming to terms with what that means. And what it is I'm going to want to be working on next after the end of 2022. So, I wish this was more of a clearer update, more of a clearer reflection, and less of me just sort of expressing to you the uncertainty that I have moving forward. So, if you have thoughts on what you want to see out of this channel moving forward, thoughts on what you would like to see out of DR Productions, please let me know, because I'm trying to figure that out for myself. And to sort of tie things off, I guess. 2021 was a very difficult year in many other regards. Obviously, as I mentioned briefly, we had that brief respite from the pandemic during the summer, and it wasn't even a pause or an ending. It was just a moment of hope that we all kind of experienced together when we thought that we might be seeing the end, and then it continued through the fall. It's 2021. In many regards, I've kind of jokingly called the direct-to-DVD sequel to 2020. We started off the year with a lot of uncertainty with regards to the state of the United States, with the insurrection at the beginning of the year, which is something that, now that it's a year out, I still wanted to do some sort of video on, and that was actually going to be relating to the Conversations in Context video I'd been scripting and wasn't able to complete. So that might be something that I revisit at some point if I have the time in between, all the work I've been doing on trying to finish up Power Reviews. We've been struggling through these major crises together. The crisis of voting rights and voter suppression, and half of the nation seeing one version of events while the other half is recognizing a different version of events and what it all means. The obvious climate crises where we've been seeing, there's been hurricanes and fires and all these terrible things, and just as we continue to lose people and have all this uncertainty, it's been it was a rough year. And I'm knocking on all the wood that this is the year that we finally get to see the other side of that. Vaccinations have been steadily creeping upwards. It's looking like the Omicron variant might be burning through and allowing for a lot of immune buildup without as much damage, but it's just so widespread that's really a relative statement. So there is some possibility that we might actually be seeing sort of the last hurrah of this pandemic as a pandemic before it fades into the background as something more along the lines of, a flu or something like that. But I'm just talking about in terms of something that is manageable, as opposed to something that is wreaking havoc on all of our societal systems. So we might be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on that. I'm looking at finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on working on power reviews. Looking at finally having a house, a home to call our own. Once again, we are looking at, the midterms, which could make or break the balance of power in our country, much like what we experienced in 2020. So 2022, in many regards, is going to be a year of, I think, a year of decision, a year of finality in a number of aspects, hopefully a year of closure. Because I know it's been a struggle not having that closure, not having definitive answers for when things will end. And hopefully soon we'll have that. Within the next few weeks, I should have an idea of when my next episode will be coming out. Within the next few months, I should have an idea of when the next what the next Power Ranger season is going to be. When Dino Fury comes back on Netflix. All these things that my channel depends on. I'm going to have hopefully answers to across the course of this year, just not yet. Not now. So I wish that this was a little bit of a, I wish that this was a reflection that came with more clarity. But it looks like that clarity is still yet to come. So, again, I do ask, if you have something that you want to see out of this channel once the main series concludes, once Dino Fury concludes, then please comment below and let me know. I want to know what sort of demand there is for this channel. I have ideas for smaller scale videos, maybe things like interviews or one-off videos, trying to maybe do some more videos that are focused around raising social awareness and getting people more involved in fixing the problems that we're facing as a species, and rallying people again together like we had with the big live streams back in 2020. We accomplished so much in 2020, and it felt like for 2021 I just had to take a step back on a lot of that. And I'm hoping that I can commit again with 2022 and hit all these goals that I've set for myself, which are substantial. And I'm going to try not to let you all down. And I'm going to try not to let myself down. Because, to put it quite simply, if I manage to actually pull this off, if I manage to actually finally, after all these years, finish this series that I, came up with a decade ago, which feels like a whole lifetime ago, if I can do that, the sky's the limit. There are so many other things in life that I want to try to be able to do, and I feel like to get to any of them, I need to clear this big hurdle of making it to the end of this story, making it to the end of this goal that I've carved out for myself. So thank you to those of you who have followed me on this journey. I appreciate it, and I hope that you are managing well with your own journeys. As I said before, this past year was a difficult year for all of us. A number of the past years have been very difficult. But I'm going to keep trying to hold on to hope that we're coming out the other side of it. That the things that we fought for will finally start to pay off. Whether it's artistically through this channel, whether it's socially in terms of political change, or existentially in terms of finding life post-pandemic. Maybe finally, we'll see if that finally can happen this year. So 2021 was the year that I took a step back and tried to muddle through. And it was the year of, which I think is how many parents would probably describe their first year of parenthood. And 2022 will have to be the year that I finally deliver on the promises I have made. So I hope that I am able to keep those promises to all of you. And thank you again for all of your support. Let's make this year a great one. And together, we'll figure out what the next year will be after that and where we go from there. So, until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.